The big problem with man is that all men die, and so the generations come and go from the historical record. But with the God of the Bible, we have someone who is unique in the historical record. We have an immortal historical figure. And so his life goes on through all generations. And so in Exodus 3:15, after God reveals his personal name, he says, "This is my name forever, the name you shall call me from generation to generation." And this statement can be tested through archaeology. Is there evidence that God has been known by the same name from generation to generation down through human history? The evidence for this is overwhelming. We couldn't possibly cover it all in this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what I consider to be the 5 most significant evidences for the enduring name of God. And then we're going to look at the question, does this evidence prove that God is real?
Please consider hitting the subscribe button. I'll leave several links in the description where you can order a copy of my book, Where God Came Down, the Archaeological Evidence, where you can leave a tax-deductible donation used for the production of future videos, and where you can check out the tours that I lead to Israel and other lands of the Bible.
There are many people in the world, and to distinguish each of our unique identities from everyone else, we all have names. The same was true for the countless gods that have been worshipped by ancient people over thousands of years. Each god had a name to distinguish them from each other. And so the question is does the God of the Bible have a personal name? And so in Exodus 3, God appears to Moses and speaks to him from a burning bush. And he tells him to go to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. Moses knows that when he goes and tells the Israelites, hey, God appeared to me out of this bush and he told me to come here and set you free and all this stuff that he was going to tell them, he knew what they were going to do. They were going to ask him, who appeared to you? What God appeared to you? What is his name? And so knowing this, then Moses asked God, then what shall I tell them? God said to Moses, say to the Israelites, the Lord has sent me to you. In our English Bible, when we see Lord all in capital letters, this indicates that in biblical Hebrew, the personal name of God is used here, which is made up of 4 letters. Yod is the Y sound, Hey the H sound, Wow the W sound, and Hey again for the H sound. Together, these 4 letters sound out the name Yahweh. Okay, now we're going to go through these 5 significant evidences of whether or not the personal name of God has survived the ravages of time. And you'll want to stick around to the end because we want to look at whether these evidences demonstrate that God is real. It's been several years ago now that I took a trip to a remote place in the country of Sudan. I was able to find a driver with 4-wheel drive and camping gear, and after 3 long days, we finally approached the ruins of the temple at Soleb. Okay, I'm here at the temple of Soleb. I've traveled all the way to Sudan to come to this temple. This temple was built by Amenhotep III, and you can see these inscriptions that are covering these pillars. These inscriptions, they have a prisoner with the arms tied behind the back, and then it has the name of the place that these people come from. These are the ones that Amenhotep III is bragging about defeating. And so we're here in this hall, and the one that I came all the way to Sudan to see actually is over here on the north side. And this one I came all the way to see because it says land of the Shazu, which are nomads, land of the nomads of Yahweh. The inscription is in ancient Egyptian, made up of 4 hieroglyphs. The reeds represent the Y sound. The house hieroglyph is the H sound, the noose for the W, and the bird for the long A sound. Together in ancient Egyptian, these four hieroglyphs sound out the name Yahweh. In the excavation report, the inscription is translated, "Land of the Nomads of Yahweh." So this is how it was translated in the excavation report, and this is how it continues to be translated to this day. So according to biblical chronology, the burning bush event happens in the second half of the 15th century BC. And then we have the Soleb temple and this inscription dating to the end of the 15th century BC. So here's something that's really amazing. In the same century that we have God revealing his personal name to Moses, we have his personal name inscribed in stone. The Soleb inscription is evidence that the name Yahweh was known in the late 15th century BC. In the modern country of Jordan, east of the Dead Sea, is the site of Dibon. I'm standing on the mound of ruins of the city that the Bible calls Dibon. This is the ancient capital of the Moabites. In 1868, the Protestant missionary Frederick Klein was traveling in this remote area and stopped to have tea with a local Bedouin tribe. The sheikh told him about a stone with strange writing on it that was visible in the ruins nearby. So Klein was taken somewhere up here on the Acropolis of the site, and he was shown this huge granite slab with an inscription facing the sky. Since 1873, the Moabite stone has been on display in Paris at the Louvre Museum. This is the Moabite stone. So this inscription dates to the 9th century BC. It begins by saying, "I am Mesha, son of Chemosh, king of Moab." In the Bible, in 2 Kings 3:4, it mentions Mesha, king of Moab. And in Numbers 21:29, the nation of Moab are called the people of Chemosh. We see the same thing in the Moabite stone inscription, where the nation of Moab is named several times, and so is the name of their supreme god Chemosh. Together, these names show the relationship between the nation of Moab and their chief god Chemosh. Moab's identity is in the name of their god Chemosh. The two names, Moab and Chemosh, are interchangeable. If we are talking about Chemosh, we know we're talking about the Moabites. If we're talking about the Moabites, we know we're talking about the people who worship the god Chemosh. Later in the inscription, we see another relationship. The nation of Israel is named several times, and also the name of their God, Yahweh. This is what the personal name of Israel's God looks like in Moabite. The four letters, Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, Yahweh. This relationship between nations and their king gods is typical. The Ammonites worship Moloch, the Edomites Kos, the Assyrians Ashur, the Babylonians Marduk. The Moabite stone is the oldest inscription that has both the name Israel and Yahweh together in the same inscription. And so these two names are inseparable. This is how we know that Yahweh is the God of Israel and the Israelites are the people of Yahweh. And so we can go back to the Soleb inscription that's talking about the nomads of Yahweh. Who are the nomads of Yahweh? Obviously, they're the Israelites. So we have archaeological evidence demonstrating with certainty that Yahweh, the name of the God of Israel, was known from the Soleb inscription from the 15th century BC to the Moabite stone in the 9th century BC. The burial grounds located at Ketef Hinnom are located just to the southwest of ancient Jerusalem. Back when I lived in Jerusalem, I met up with Dr. Gabriel Barkai at Ketef Hinnom, where he made the discovery of his lifetime.
I want to see where exactly. So, oh wow, that is deep.
You have a foothold.
Right here to the left, yeah.
Okay, Dr. Barkai.
Yeah.
So where in here did you find those
Close
scrolls?
to the bottom and in the inner side.
The inside back, all the way
Yeah.
back here? In the back corner of this chamber, Barkai's team discovered 2 small silver scrolls.
It was a plaque of silver which was rolled around itself about 6 times, and when it was unrolled, it was showing to be covered densely with ancient Hebrew characters. It was inscribed, 19 lines of writing in minuscule Hebrew characters. The first word which I deciphered at the opening was the name of the Lord. Yud Hey Vav Hey. This is the private name of God which appears whenever the English version has the word the Lord in the Hebrew Bible.
In 2 Kings 21:7, God says, "In Jerusalem I will put my name forever." Now we have, through archaeology, the divine name discovered in the city that bears his name.
For the first time, we have the owner of the temple, the dweller of the temple of Jerusalem, found in Jerusalem itself. Later on, we discovered that there are several more appearances of the name of the Lord on that piece of silver.
The first silver scroll reads, "Bless you, Yahweh, and keep you. May Yahweh shine his face upon you and be gracious to you." And the smaller scroll is translated, "Bless you, Yahweh, and keep you. May shine Yahweh his face upon you and give you peace." These silver scrolls date to the 7th century BC, and so we see that God's name is known, just as he said, from generation to generation down through history, and that his name is known by the Egyptians, the Moabites, and of course, the Israelites themselves. In the winter of 1947, along this rocky ridge, just to the west of the Dead Sea, a Bedouin shepherd made the initial discovery of what would become known as the Dead Sea Scrolls. Along this ridgeline here, a series of 11 Dead Sea Scroll caves have been found. For many years, I have been exploring the Dead Sea Scroll caves and visiting museums where some of the scrolls found in these caves are on display. So behind me here in the display is a Dead Sea Scroll manuscript that was discovered in cave number 4. This copy dates to 125 BC. The Dead Sea Scrolls were written and copied by Jews, and Jews are the remnant of Israel. The Dead Sea Scrolls are written in Hebrew and Aramaic in what is known as the square script, which was in use at the time. This is God's name written in square script. So the Dead Sea Scrolls were actively being written and copied from the 3rd century BC all the way to the 1st century AD. And so we have archaeological evidence of the personal name of God being preserved hundreds of times in the Dead Sea Scrolls over the course of about 400 years. Therefore, the archaeological evidence confirms that God continued to be known by the divine name over 4 more centuries, from the 3rd century BC to the 1st century AD. So after the Dead Sea Scrolls, we have an overwhelming amount of evidence for God's divine name continuing to be known from generation to generation. So I'm going to skip through all that, and I'm going to go to the 5th evidence, and that is the evidence that Jews still know God in the current generation by his divine name. So I'm just looking at a few of the standard Jewish Bibles. This is what's called the Stone Edition Tanakh, which is used by a lot of Orthodox Jews. And then the most widely used Hebrew English Tanakh is the JPS, because it's the Jewish Publication Society. So if I take this and I simply turn over to Exodus chapter 3, where God reveals his name to Moses, then we see here in the Hebrew, in the square script, the name of God in the 4 Hebrew letters. This is significant because we see in this evidence that Jews in the current generation still know the God they worship by the same personal name that was revealed to Moses over 3,400 years ago. We see without doubt that God has been known by his personal name from the 15th century BC all the way up until present day. And so the statement that he makes about his name Yahweh in Exodus 3:15, that by this name he would be known forever from generation to generation, is proven through the evidence to be absolutely true. Now that we've covered this evidence, then we want to look at what all this means. And to better understand this, we want to look at the names of the other gods of these other ancient nations and see how they fared. And when we do this, we find that over time, all of the names of these other gods of these other nations go out of use. And so the question really is how is the name of a god forgotten? There's a good description in 2 Kings 18 about how the names of gods are forgotten. And this is during the Assyrian king Sennacherib's invasion of Judah. By this time, many nations had been completely destroyed by the Assyrians, and now he was attacking Judah. He destroyed most of the cities there, and he was going to the capital city, Jerusalem, where Hezekiah, king of Judah, was reigning from. And so he sends a messenger with his message to speak to the people of Jerusalem. When I read through this message, I'm going to substitute the name Yahweh where I see the Lord all in capital letters, because I think it will help us understand the context of this message. Sennacherib says, "Do not listen to Hezekiah, for he is misleading you when he says, Yahweh will deliver us. Has the God of any nation ever delivered his land from the hand of the king of Assyria?" And you can rest assured that all of the Jews that were gathered on the walls of Jerusalem to listen to this message, they knew the answer to this question. None of the gods of any of these nations had ever been able to deliver them from the king of Assyria. The message continued, "Where are the gods of Hamath and Arpad? Where are the gods of Zepharvaim, Hena, and Iva? Have they rescued Samaria from my hand? Who of all the gods of these countries has been able to save his land from me?" You're probably not familiar with the names of these countries because they were destroyed so long ago that the names of these countries are forgotten and have gone out of use. And so this is also the way the gods of these countries are forgotten. Their names are forgotten because when the people die, what dies with them is their belief in these gods that could not save them. Sennacherib's message ends with this taunt: "How then can Yahweh deliver Jerusalem from my hand?" Sennacherib gives this very real taunt, and Hezekiah takes that and does what I think is the only thing that he can do at this time. He prays. In 2 Kings 19, Hezekiah prays, "It is true, Yahweh, that the Assyrian kings have laid waste these nations and their lands. They have thrown their gods into the fire and destroyed them. For they were not gods, but only wood and stone fashioned by human hands. Now, Yahweh, our God, deliver us from his hand, so that all the kingdoms on the earth may know that you alone, Yahweh, are God." Yahweh's response to Hezekiah's prayer is to do what none of these other gods could do, and save his people from the king of Assyria. That night the angel of Yahweh went out and put to death 185,000 in the Assyrian camp. When the people got up the next morning, there were all the dead bodies. So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, broke camp and withdrew. So Yahweh has delivered Israel and the Jews, who are the remnant of Israel, over and over again down through history. He delivered them from Egypt, from the Assyrians, from the Babylonians, from Haman during the Persian period, from the Nazis, and on and on and on. The way that God shows the kingdoms of the earth that He alone is God and that He is mighty to save is that He saves His people over and over again through the course of history. In contrast, I can use the same taunt that Sennacherib uses in 2 Kings chapter 18 for the gods today. Where are these ancient gods? Where are the gods of old? Where are the gods of the Philistines and the Arameans? Where are the god of the Edomites and the Moabites and the Ammonites? Where are these gods of old worshipped today? Where are there places like synagogues or church buildings where people gather together today to worship Amun or Ashur or Marduk or Zeus or Jupiter? All of these gods are forgotten because, as Hezekiah said, none of them are real, and therefore they cannot save. In contrast to this, the evidence that shows that the God of the Bible is alone God and that He is real and that He is mighty to save is that He has saved His people over and over and over again down through the course of history. His name has been known forever, from generation to generation. So one final point is this. Remember that when Yahweh reveals His name to Moses, He says, "This is my name forever." His name has never been forgotten. His name never will be forgotten. So how is it that the divine name of God, Yahweh, is going to be known forever? Well, in order to understand this, we have to understand that Christians also worship the God named Yahweh. Matthew 1:21 is about the Messiah and says, "She will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus." The footnote at the bottom of the page says, Jesus means the Lord saves. And since Lord is all in capital letters, Jesus means Yahweh saves. The Hebrew form of Jesus is Yeshua, made up of two words. Yahweh is shortened to a prefix, and the second word, Shua, means saves. This is why, after saying you are to give him the name Jesus, verse 21 continues, because he will save his people from their sins. So the name of the Christian God that we read about in the Bible is Yahweh. God the Father is Yahweh, the Son is Yahweh, and the Holy Spirit is Yahweh. So how does Yahweh save? Well, He comes in the form of a man in the person of the Messiah. The Messiah isn't named after Yahweh. The Messiah is Yahweh, who has come to save the world from sin. And so He does this by dying on the cross so that we can be forgiven of our sins and we can receive, instead of punishment for sin, eternal life. And so those who will live forever because they believe in Jesus will worship God and know Him by the name Yahweh forever, just as Exodus 3:15 says. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'm going to leave a list of links in the description where you can order a copy of my book, Where God Came Down, the Archaeological Evidence. I'll also leave a link where you can leave a tax-deductible donation. These donations we rely on to make future videos. So thanks so much for considering that. I'll also leave a link where you can check out the different tours that I lead to Israel and to other lands of the Bible. You can watch other videos here. I'd recommend the Moabite stone to learn that story of how that was discovered and its implications. And thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.